The International Finance Corporation, IFC, the private investment arm of the World Bank, has committed nearly $200 million in investments in 4 projects in Africa. The investments will relate to food security, access to finance, sustainable agriculture, and construction in Morocco and other parts of Africa. It is expected to aid Morocco's economic recovery strategy following last month's earthquake in the south of the country. Uche Okoronkwo spoke to the President of C.G.E.M, which represents Morocco's private sector, about the business environment in the country since the earthquake.
All this crisis had, of course, a strong impact on our economy. But what we realized is that we are much more resilient than we thought we were. We faced the pandemic, I think, in a reasonably good way. We faced the inflation, and the inflation in Morocco stayed at the level of the inflation that happened in the most mature countries. So we didn't have the 60, 70 or 100% that some countries had. We stayed around 8, 10, and now we're back to, I think the last figure was July, around 5%. So coming back to normal. With all that happening, the level of the purchasing power of the average purchasing power has came down by 7.2% in 2022 compared to 2019, and that's of course because what happened is that the most affected population became poorer. They were affected more than. And it happened more in cities than in the countryside than in cities. But I think it's a global phenomena that all the countries have faced. I think we're recovering. We're coming back to figures that we've seen in 2019. So if you take, for example, the sector of tourism, 2023, we have better figures than 2019, which was a record year. So yes, the economy is recovering. As a consequence, poverty is again slowing down compared to 2020. But of course, these 3 years have been we've been affected.
Now, in light of multiple global shocks, the IMF says we should prepare for a tougher time ahead. How does C.G.E.M plan to advocate for the private sector here in Morocco? What is your strategy going forward?
What I think is very important for our economy is to create value locally. And that's why our financials are good. So we produce locally. We import, we create value locally, and we re-export. So if you take the example of phosphate, for example, 20 years ago, we used to export rocks. Today, we're transforming locally and then we're exporting. If you take the automotive sector, we used to have an integration rate that was, let's say, 20%. Today, it's 65%. So we produce 700,000 cars per year, and we have a value creation of 65% locally. Aeronautics, it's 40,000 jobs now. We used to have an integration rate of 20, now it's around 40. So that means that we create value locally, we create jobs locally, we have a balance of payment that is good, and that's why our money is stable and our economy is growing. So that's, globally speaking, our strategy. What we need now is to have I think a better growth rate of our GDP. We are around 4% with all those crises. To be on the safe side and to catch up on more mature economies, we have to go to 6. But with what is coming, I think we are on the right path, and especially with the strong events that are coming and the World Cup in 2030, that gives us good hope.